Welcome to the Bright Ideas Podcast, where we share bold insights and real stories for people leaders building companies and cultures that scale. I'm your host, Desiree B. Sharpe, keynote speaker and CEO of Color Vision Lab. We're the people and culture consulting firm helping creative businesses design smarter systems and build high-performing teams. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest, Taylor Wilson, CEO and founder of Creative Schizzle. If you want to scale your business without sacrificing your culture, this conversation is for you. And if you're exploring ways to elevate your people strategy, DM us the word growth on LinkedIn for a free consultation. Taylor, welcome to Bright Ideas. How are you today?
I'm great. It's good to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to have you here today. We have tons of goodness to talk about. But before we dive into the meat and potatoes, I want you to give us a little bit of background on Creative Schizzle. So walk us through your founder journey. Where did the idea come from, and what do you focus on in your agency today?
I love it. So I've been in the digital marketing and brand world for about 20 years now and have worked at a variety of startups, technology companies, and larger agencies. And through that time, especially as I got more, I would say like midway through my career and I was leading marketing teams, often very lean marketing teams, I felt like there was a need for small businesses, startups, and the smaller types of nonprofits that I worked with for more scalable, affordable, and accessible marketing solutions. In that time of running lean teams, I got really good at like finding freelance talent on places like Fiverr and Upwork. And I started to discover that there's this whole world of like global talent that I wasn't used to because my world sort of previously existed in just go hire an agency and they'll do all of this. But then that often came with a cost of 200 plus an hour. And that I just started to feel more and more over time like, God, I feel like that's the only option. You know, you either go find a freelancer and you have to sort of figure out how to manage that whole process, or you either can't afford an agency or maybe you're spending more than what you really have in your budget. And so I felt really passionate that, like, what if I could scale really repeatable marketing creative services for small businesses and startups and those lean teams that also takes away the pain point of like having to hire and manage different talent all over the world. And that's really kind of where the idea of Creative Schizzle came about. So when I started my agency, I really just started as me, as a branding consultant. I made a website, I hung up my shingle, and I said, "Hey, I'm open for business world." I quit my job and said, "I'm gonna jump into the deep end." And then very quickly, I started to see that idea that I had kind of seemed to be playing out, where there were all these small businesses that were like, "Oh, I need that. I need a website. I need a simple brand, but I don't have my budget is $5,000 to $10,000, just as an example, not 50,000 that like most agencies like want to talk to you if you only have like a high 5 or 6 figure budget." And so then I started building a team, and then we actually turned our business into a subscription month-to-month service. So you can literally hire us really, really easily. And it's just kind of taken off from there.
Wow, I can agree and relate to a lot of what you shared. It's making me reflect on my founder story across my two businesses over the past 6 years. And I think I've had a little bit of a leg up because I have a background in talent acquisition from my corporate
Mhm.
job. So I knew how to hire. But to your point, yeah, the agency price tag is pretty inaccessible for a lot of companies that are just starting out. And when you look at platforms like Upwork that have really taken off, especially as people wanted to dive into gig work and freelancing, there's still this gap of how do I hire the right talent with the right
Uh-huh.
skills that meet my needs. So kudos to you for really meeting a real need in the market, a real gap,
Yeah.
especially with the subscription model. I think that's a real differentiator.
Well, it is, and I don't know, there's just something where I feel like if you can buy Netflix with a credit card online, like, why can't we just also buy creative services with a credit card online? Like, why not? That was sort of my mantra, and so I just started really working on figuring that out and solving that dilemma, and, I mean, I would say it's like I kinda found that need in the market by living and breathing the need as a marketer running a lean team, and
Yeah.
it just started kinda like I built it. It's so funny, 'cause sometimes I feel like I built it for my former self, but there's a lot of people that are in that position just like I was, and so I really feel like I built it from a deep awareness of what that's like.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it's making me think about the name Creative Schizzle and how unique it is. I even saw on your LinkedIn profile that you call yourself the Chief Shizzle Officer, which I love. So, of course, I have to ask you what inspired the name?
It's I just think that, like, people have a lot of shizzle to get done, and, like, that was where the idea came to me one
Love
day.
it.
I don't know, I was driving or in the shower or something where all my ideas come to me, and so I thought, "Oh, like, I do a creative agency," because I actually started my agency under a different name, like, we've rebranded to Creative Schizzle, and we started as Barlele, which was kind of a word that I made up that meant something to me, and then I started noticing, like, people had a hard time saying that and spelling that, and I thought about, "Well, what if I want, like, a landing pad to put just my creative, like, thought leadership?" And so Creative Shizzle just literally randomly came to my mind one day, and I was like, "I'm gonna see if that domain's available," and I really kinda thought it might not be, and then it was, and so I bought the domain, and I thought it would be more of, like, our place for our blog and our thought leadership, and then it just kinda got to where, like, it was sitting with me, and people thought it was fun, and I very much feel like work doesn't have to be boring, and I'm in branding and creative, so, like, let's stand out, and I just thought this should be the company name. This should be we help people get all their shizzle done.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Get Shizzle done. And you're right. It is very fun. It's high energy. It's like future forward. And now that I've met you and I've gotten to know you, it very much matches your personality. So it's it's
I think it
awesome.
does. I'm kinda
Yeah,
quirky.
it's awesome. I love that. Um, I want to shift a little bit. We're in an interesting time right now, especially for service-based SMBs, when it comes to how various trends are impacting our work, economic
Mhm.
trends, AI trends, trends in that are shifting in kind of the social media or digital landscape. So I want to learn a little bit more about what trends are currently impacting your business, and how are you responding to them?
So I do think that the AI trend is something that's really affecting a lot of businesses, and it's definitely affecting my domain. And I think both positively and potentially, I don't even wanna say negatively yet, but sort of in that it feels very uncertain right now. So, when I think about AI in creative work and also AI in productivity, I think there's a lot that we can do to be better, to be a better agency. And we're starting to use AI for a lot of creative production work, but not the part where like you really need that human nuance. I think that's one of the things that to me is interesting in this trend of AI where everyone or you at least see this a lot. I don't know if you do, but like I'm scrolling through Instagram, every other ad is like an AI marketing platform. And maybe that's because they know how to target me, but you see a lot of promises. AI can do this, AI can do that, AI, you don't need people anymore. I disagree wholeheartedly. I think there's a lot that AI can do to lift us up, but that, like, there's this nuance of being a human that they're never gonna have. I actually think that's our big competitive unfair advantage over AI, And so, like, I know that this is happening within my team and probably lots of teams where people are starting to feel uncertain about, gosh, well, is this gonna take my job away? And one of the things I am working on reassuring my team about is, like, we have this unfair advantage of humanity, and so, like, let's lean into that. And so I think that's probably the trend that's the most top of mind for us right now as a business, because it is like, yeah, there's plenty of stuff now that, like, yeah, you could have AI do it, you don't have to hire us. But I do think there's this level of nuance where I'm like, AI, like, it'll get you a pretty good product, but it doesn't have the nuance that gets you a fantastic product. And so, I don't know if that answered your question, Desiree, but that's one of the things on my mind right now as we think about, like, the biggest trend that everybody's talking about and how I'm thinking about it with my business.
Yeah, it does answer my question, and I agree. I have thought long and hard about what my stance is when it comes
Mhm.
to integrating AI into my business and how the message I want to share on my platform around it. And what I believe is that I don't think AI is going to replace humans, especially leaders, but I do believe
Mhm.
that leaders who use AI will replace those who do not. I
Mhm.
believe there's a real
Yeah.
opportunity to harness the power of AI to create, even further advantages, and stand out in your market in a time where it's hugely competitive in the SMB space and uncertain. And I do think that as owners, we have to be forward thinking. But yeah, we have to reassure our teams that, look, like, this is something that I want you to be able to leverage to work, work more efficiently and be
Mhm.
more innovative and kind of remove some of the busy work from your plate to free you up for more high level things. But only time will tell, right? Because the
Yeah.
reality is that there are some industries that are going to be heavily impacted by AI, very mundane manual tasks. Those laborious jobs are at risk.
Mhm. Yeah.
But when we think about strategic thinkers, folks who bring real human insights, like, to your point,
Mhm.
creativity, problem solving, all these things,
Yeah.
AI is not going to replace that.
Yeah, exactly. I do have a little bit of a concern for this was a conversation I was having recently with somebody, maybe just within the last week, about younger people just entering the workforce and how, I mean, go back in time and, like, think about your first job, and, like, you weren't yet the thinker, you weren't yet the strategist at that point. You just graduated college or whatever, just started. And you were doing a more within the white collar, like, thinker workspace, you were doing a more mundane job probably. I mean, I was like a coder, I was like a developer, And, I coded landing pages, good old HTML, CSS stuff. And that kind of thing, I am worried about being more at risk for younger people entering the workforce, where I really feel like they need to they get their feet wet and they grind for a while, on something. And now, like, is that opportunity to grind and get your feet wet at risk? We're like, we need that. Like, this younger generation, they need that to grow into the strategist.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta cut your teeth on stuff, and you've got to so I think that will be really interesting. I still think that those who learn how to use it and leverage it are gonna win versus those who don't. So, like, you're right on point with, like, leaders who use AI versus leaders who don't use AI. Those are gonna be the ones who have no problem, in
Yeah.
the future world.
What a great point you just raised about the younger generation. It's making me think about my sister. She's only 22.
Mhm.
And she's just had a really hard go, with entering college during the pandemic and then graduating in last year when AI was really starting to buzz around and across industries. And it's been very difficult for her to find her footing with entry-level career opportunities.
Yeah.
It's a bullish job market, even AI aside. Like companies are scared to hire. They're laying people
Yeah.
off left and right. And it's tough. I feel really bad for them because you're right. You do need those first 3 to 5 years to really cut your teeth, on something and be in a support role where you learn all the ins and outs of the trade before you can do anything higher level. That is scary because
Yeah.
they're going to be our future leaders. And I don't think that we're setting them up for success in how the job market is structured today.
I know. I worry about my kids. I mean, my son just started high school, and I don't even know what will college be like in 4 years. Will he and my daughter's younger, will they go? I don't Will it be relevant? Will it be different? Will it be AI school? Within 4 years, I mean, given the pace of change, it could be, and at the same time, like, I think those years are such good years where, like, you learn a lot about it's not just, like, what you're studying, but, like, you learn so much about life, you know? Like, learning how to take care of yourself, being in the environments all of a sudden. I mean, I remember my freshman year, I went away to an out-of-state school, and I knew nobody, and all of a sudden, you move into this dorm, and you don't know anybody, and you have to figure it out, and, like, those types of life things are so good, and I just wonder if that kinda stuff is going to be taken away from us, and if so, how do we still have our younger generations and our next generations of leaders, like, get those experiences?
Mm.
That'll be
Makes sense.
interesting.
Yes, very interesting and all
Yeah.
great points. You
Off
have
topic.
no, it's this was the off-course conversation we
Yeah.
needed. We didn't know we needed to have. It's
Yeah,
very
right.
interesting and thought-provoking. I'm sure that there's people who are gonna be listening to this who are wondering the same thing for their kids. My
Yeah.
baby's only 8 months,
Oh,
so
gotta
I
wa
have a
who
long
knows
ways to
then?
wait. I don't know what's
Who
gonna be
knows?
happening when she's going
Yeah.
into the workforce.
Who
I'm just
knows?
trying to make it through tomorrow, you
I
know?
know. Yeah, me too.
Um, but one thing I wanted to talk about is your upcoming book.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have this kind of a approach to leadership or philosophy around, kindness in leadership,
Yeah.
being a kind leader, which really resonated with me on a deep level. What inspired you to focus on that theme for your upcoming book? And why do you think the world needs kind leadership right now? So
I
many
think
reasons.
Yeah, a lot of reasons. Um, I think that so much of the corporate world is so centered around more, 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 growth, growth, growth at all costs. It doesn't really matter as long as the investors are happy, and it's just kind of the way, like, corporate America runs, and I kinda think that it's hard because, like, when you think about kindness, like, a lot of times you're like, what comes to mind is kinda like, "Ah, take a break for yourself and, like, go out and breathe longer and do your breath exercises," and, like, that's kinda like the mantra that you see on Instagram, and that's not really what I'm talking about in my book. It's called Reckless Kindness, and hopefully it'll be out this year, and the idea is a little bit more around, like, what does growth look like if you're leading more from the perspective of being kind to yourself as a leader, being kind to your team, and, like, centering yourself around, I guess, like, thoughtfulness as opposed to just, like, driving people to the bone, "Well, this is the way it is," like, growth, 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 growth sort of mindset, and so I think the reason why I titled it "Reckless Kindness" is because it feels reckless as a leader to approach things from a different perspective of kindness, as opposed to, like, it feels like, "Oh, well, I'm" like, think about the first time you got a manager job. "Oh, I'm managing people now. I've gotta" like, maybe I need to put on sort of like a hard persona and, like, be kinda, rigid, and I don't really think good business is built that way. I don't think long-term businesses that are healthy are built that way. It's also interesting because, like, you run into things as a leader, like running a business, like, sometimes you have to make decisions that aren't kind, that, like, aren't on the surface kind, and I know I've certainly had to make decisions both in my personal life and within my business where I'm looking at the big picture, long picture goal of the whole company and the whole team and, maybe, like, this decision to end a relationship, for example, doesn't seem kind on the surface, but, like, it is underneath the surface. It's, like, the right thing for everyone, and so I think there's a lot of, like, layers of kindness that I explore in the book that are not that surface level, just be kind, notion, and it's really about bringing that more into the business world where I just don't think that that's the way people think about building and growing a business, and so I wanted to shake it up a little bit and bring some new ideas around that to the
Yeah.
table.
I really love that concept. It's a very different way of approaching leadership, and I think it's much needed because you know that there's different trends that impact the workforce and workplaces, and we've had the Great Resignation, we've had uh, all these different trends with employees, but now there's almost like this posture with employers where they expect their employees just to be grateful to have a job because for the first time, I don't know if it's in history or in a long time, there's not enough jobs for the amount of people or job seekers who are actively in the market, in the US market looking for work. And it's become one of the worst markets in history. And I think some employers are taking advantage of that and might be letting go of some of their values and some of the initiatives that they used to drive culture when DE&I was very catchy and a sexy thing for just companies to throw around. I think that that's much needed. And I feel like that kind of thinking can only come about after you've lived through some different leadership experiences. You've hired folks, you've fired folks, you've had to, give harsh feedback. It's tough. It's really tough.
It is. No, it's not easy, and again, I think some of it too that why I started thinking this way was just I really feel like when I built my company, part of the passion behind it too was to build a company that people liked working at. And I mean, work is work. We don't all want to show up every day. Like, that's true. I don't want to show up every day and I run the thing. Um, it's normal to have bad days. It's normal to not want to show up at work, but it's also not normal to show up in a work environment that's toxic every day, where you feel like you're losing a part of yourself every day. And that is just rampant. Like, that is a rampant issue, I think, in corporate America that I've experienced. I've talked to a lot of people on my team about that they've experienced. And so when I built the company, I wanted to build I wanted to see, can we grow a company if I'm not focused on setting numbers and metrics, but I'm focused on creating a place that has a good culture and, like, treats our clients well? And so that's the premise a lot behind things that I talk about in the book too.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, when you talk about being kind to yourself as a leader, I want to dig into that a little bit more. When I think about kindness to myself, especially in this season, I think about giving myself grace, taking care of myself physically, emotionally, mentally, trying to set healthy boundaries around my work and my life. And that means different things for different people. So I'm curious to know if there are any habits, routines, mindsets that help you stay creative and, take care of yourself and be kind to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do, I mean, it's all, one step at a time. Like, I keep learning things. I keep trying things. I think having an open mindset to basically say, I'm gonna keep trying things and I'm gonna keep iterating until I kinda tweak and tweak and tweak and get to a better place. So from a mindset perspective, that's very much the way I kinda, like, try to approach life and work. But I figured some things out over the years. So one is, it is about kinda learning when to say no. I've got a mantra called minimize to maximize. You have to minimize, like, all the garbage in your life and in your head in order to maximize being able to spend time on the things that give you oxygen or your business oxygen. And so a lot of my, work that I've done for myself over the years and within my business is around like focus and letting go of stuff that doesn't matter, that's not really working, and letting go of it faster. And then being able to focus more and have more space for the things that actually give you energy and oxygen. And one of the ways that I've kind of figured out and really like even just over the last year have tweaked for myself is even just like my schedule. So I used to just be one of those people that booked all week long, Monday through Friday, back to back calls on the phone all day long. How could I possibly get better at my business or better as a leader if I am on the phone from 8 to 5 every day? How could anyone possibly do that? But yet, like, we do. That's another kind of problem within corporate America, like meeting, 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 meeting. You can't do anything that way. You're like in meetings talking all the time about getting stuff done that you never have time to actually do. And so I really have gotten good about, like, saying no to when I will and won't do meetings, and I have certain days of the week where I won't take calls, I won't take meetings, and I'm just like, I'm unavailable that day. And what I have found it does is but then I have meetings where, like, this is a devoted day to meetings and only meetings. And then when I show up on those days, I'm so ready to be in a meeting and I'm like, I'm good. I prepared for this. I had time to prepare for this. I'm not like coming in hot, you know? What are we talking about? Which is kind of what happens when you never have time outside of meetings. And so for me, like that's been one of the biggest game changers is just like my calendar and fixing that and like learning to say no and respectfully too, like instead of feeling like, "Oh, I've gotta just be available to everyone all the time." No, like it's fine for me to say, "Awesome, I would love to meet. Can we do it on Tuesday or Thursday between these blocks? I've got them wide open for meetings," you know? And it's fine, like people are fine with that. That's the thing too that I think I didn't know until I tried it. We're so worried about being unavailable to people. It's fine,
It is.
you know?
Oh my gosh, that resonates with me so much. I used to be like that as well, especially when I was a baby entrepreneur and I was just grateful to have clients and customers. But in this season, this year, I have cut down my meetings. I only do meetings and calls of any sort, but between Tuesday and Thursday. I don't do Monday or Friday meetings in this season because the weekends are it's just a lot to be a parent on the weekends, especially with a small child. And I need my mind to reacclimate before I jump back in on Monday. And by Friday, my brain's fried. But that's just the season that I'm in right now. The cool thing about having a business is that you get to adjust that based on where your energy levels are. And I've learned for myself also within in the mornings is when I have the most amount of energy between the hours of, I would say 9 a.m. and maybe 12:30 to 1 is when I'm most productive. My executive brain is functioning at a very high level. So I try not to schedule morning meetings if I can help it and have meetings in the afternoon. But it really takes you have to have that level of self-awareness to know. And sometimes you just don't know it until you've worked for a while, you've run a business for a while. And then you have to your point, be comfortable with saying, these are my limits. This is what I need to be able to show up as my best self as a leader. And that's just kind of and people have to be okay with it.
Yeah, and honestly, like, they get better work out of me, when I do. Like, I'm better now. I'm better at what I do now when I give myself the time to work. I'm like you too. I work better in the mornings. And so I've also learned like I kind of block my mornings out too. Like I'd start meetings after like 9:30, but before like on my days that I do meetings, like 9:30, I'll go from like 9:30 to 2 or 3 for meetings, but then also kind of like I give myself self space in the afternoons because I like pick my kids up from school and do all of those things. And so but then on my non-meeting days, like I just kind of have space to do stuff, and like to have that brain like firing like when it fires. And for me, like I sometimes am like a person that'll get up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. and like when the whole house is still quiet, and I'm like drinking my coffee in peace, and I've got a little YouTube music on in the background, and I'm just like that's when I'm like firing on all cylinders.
Woo! I have not reached that level yet, but I don't know, I
Well,
might
you have
do
an
it.
8-month-old. It's like it's different, You've got
Yeah.
you probably, like, have sleep interrupted a lot still.
Yeah, we're getting
Yeah.
better now, but yeah, we definitely still have days where she's up at like 4 or 5 AM, kinda kicking the bells in her one of the toys in her crib or wants a bottle, but you're right, I don't know, I may be singing a different tune next year, and I might be a part of the 5 AM club, who knows?
I didn't used to be. It's gotten this way as I've aged,
Yeah.
And I go to bed earlier now too. It's like so that's kinda different. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Taylor, this has been really great. Like, I would love to learn a little bit more about what you're focusing on for the next quarter. So, are there any specific metrics or initiatives or anything exciting you want to share that you're going to be kind of hunkering down on to close out the year?
Yeah, so good question. I mean, one is like hopefully getting the book launched and figuring out how to launch a book because I've never done one before. But really, like I'm continuing always with our services to look at where the market is and what the market needs. And it's interesting to me. So most of our business right now is subscription based. And I'm starting to find, especially in this world where people are a little bit uncertain about spending money, people are holding on to things because m budgets are getting cut at companies and people are uncertain and all of that, and so I'm trying to look at that and say, "Okay, well, what can we do about that? How do we continue to meet the market where it is a question that I ask myself almost every day. And so we're working on a new offering that will allow small businesses and, like, really be catered towards solopreneurs and small businesses. We're like, "You can come get this one thing from us one time, and, like, you can shop on it. You can literally shop on our website and fill up your design cart and do a one-time purchase and then get your creative projects done. No retainer, no long-term commitment. That's really my mantra. Is like how do we meet the small business, the startup, the solopreneur, like truly where they are? And so that's for me what I'm continuing to think about. And then some people like they know they need ongoing support. So great, then a subscription is right for you, but I wanna be able to say, if that's not right for you and you're like, "I just need a simple landing page and an email when someone signs up," I'm like, "I need, like, a simple funnel." Cool, go to the design cart, fill that into your cart just like you're shopping on Amazon, pay, and we'll hook you up and we'll get it done? Um, so that's what I'm thinking about, and I'm hoping that we get that launched here in the next, few months.
Sounds incredible. Well, I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for the launch because I'm working on some new projects myself, and I'm always looking for potential creative partners
Oh,
and
cool.
SMBs to refer out to my network of small business founders and owners. So
Love it.
fantastic. Love
Yeah.
that. Taylor, I love to wrap up all of my podcast interviews by asking my guest to share their one bright idea. So, a bright idea could be a mindset shift, a
Mm.
strategy, a tool, podcast, book, whatever's your jam, something that's making a positive difference for you or your business. What would that one bright idea be?
Yeah, I think, like, the thing that I just think about a lot and, I'll hopefully pass on to other entrepreneurs or people who are thinking about entrepreneurship is, you don't have it all figured out and nobody does, and that's okay. I think a lot of times we compare ourselves to other people, I know I do it, like, I look at other businesses and "Oh, they're further along. Why can they figure this out and I haven't just hit that?" Or, "Why does their LinkedIn post get so many comments and mine, doesn't?" Like, we all do that. They don't the proverbial they, like, they don't have it all figured out either. We're all human, we're all trying, and some of us are, like, at different phases. So, I think, like, the bright idea is be okay with the fact that you don't have it all figured out, and that part of the fun of entrepreneurship is that you don't, and that you're figuring it out, or as you're growing your career, through the process of growing your career, you're gonna learn more and more every day, and, like, that's kind of the fun part, and then you get to a point and you look back and you think, "Look what I did."
Yes.
And then you, like, look at the next thing, and then you take all the little steps to get there, and then you look back and you're like, "Oh, I did that?"
Wow, what a great note to end this conversation on. It's the journey. That the journey is where the real value is, especially
Yeah.
in building something meaningful and long-lasting. Taylor, this has been such a great conversation. I've so enjoyed having you here. I know there are going to be listeners who want to learn more about Creative Schizzle, Reckless Kindness.
Mm.
So tell us, where can we keep up with you? Of course, we'll share your links in the show notes, but where can people keep up with all things Taylor and Creative Schizzle?
Yeah, I love it. So, if you wanna look at Creative Schizzle, our website is creativeschizzle.com. That's Shizzle. So check us out there. Follow us on Instagram. We're real active on Instagram, Creative Schizzle. And then if you wanna get in touch with me, I'm really active on LinkedIn. You can find me, Taylor Wilson, on LinkedIn. There are a lot of Taylor Wilsons, but mine is like the URL is in the kinda URL is T-Shank. Um, and you can also follow me on Instagram. I am my handle is Go with Taylor.
Incredible. Taylor, thank you so much for joining us today on Bright Ideas. I have
Yeah,
loved having you.
thank you. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for tuning in to Bright Ideas. If you're a founder, CEO, or senior talent leader with a story to share, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out about joining me on a future episode. And if you don't want to miss future conversations, be sure to follow the show, leave a quick rating, and download your favorite episodes to take them on the go. Your support helps more leaders discover bright ideas. Until next time, be bold, be resilient, be sharp. I'm Desiree B. Sharpe.